Hello everybody. I hope you can hear me and I hope you can see me clearly. Welcome to a live show from my edit suite. Quick apology, it's been over a year since I last did a live show, and the reason for it is that I had all these grandiose plans of having the troop carrier and the Range Rover, and then I'd do a kind of roving camera, and it was a nice idea. But these things are complicated and take a lot of people. So I thought, I can't just, it's all very well having nice ideas, but to actually get them to work, that's a different story altogether. So here I am on a Saturday afternoon. I've just come out of my workshop, doing a bit of work on the Range Rover, and I already have a whole lot of questions from Patreons lined up, so I'm going to get to that straight away. This live show is actually public, because I actually owe the public a live show as well as the Patreons, but of course I will address the Patreons questions first. So thank you, hello here, hello, all those people, hello, all over the world. I'm going to get to some of the Patreon questions. Last week they sent a few over and I'm going to quickly read them. Somebody asking me the difference between V6, this was Joshua, asking me the difference between the V6 4-litre Prado and Hilux motors and the comparison general reliability of the 1KD 3-litre, which is I think is the KDT. And compared to the V6, look, they're all pretty reliable engines. I don't think the KD 3-litre was one of Toyota's better engines. The D4D was a better engine. The V6 are heavy on fuel. They're thirsty things. They put them in so many cars, and particularly in the US, lots of them, and they're thirsty. But it's a good, reliable engine. But there's nothing special about it, when compared to other V6 engines. Yeah, it's a good engine. Nothing to write home about. Okay. Somebody asked, why didn't I go for, in the troop carrier build, 235/85s? Well, very good question. I had 235/85s in my troop carrier and did canning on it, and then I went to 265/75. It's the same diameter and slightly wider. Off-road, I didn't think there was a really big difference between the two tires. I found on-road and on gravel, the wider tires gave me a better, surer foot. Just felt better with the troop carrier. Troop carriers like narrow tires, but it was really a gravel handling issue that I found the 235/85s lacked a little bit. So I went to a slightly wider tire with the same diameter. Okay. Somebody asking me about the terrain tamer parabolic combination between that and the BP51 shock absorbers. I'm a big fan of the BP51 because you can tweak them, both compression and rebound, which is nice, and you can fine-tune your ride depending on the load and everything really well with them, which is what I like about them. And the combination of the parabolic, as far as I can see so far, it's really good. I do have an issue with the troop carrier, as you probably know, I started an experiment on the troop carrier, and I actually put a spring that I knew might be too light. What I didn't want to do is automatically go for a spring that was 400 to 500. It was actually 500 to 600 kilos, knowing that would be too heavy. Knowing it. So my approach was, okay, put a lighter spring in, because maybe you can get away with a lighter spring because you'll have a better ride, particularly a better ride when it's not loaded. I don't think it's worked. I think right now, the way the Troopy is sitting, I'll be doing a video next week. I'm shooting a video on the dunes with it next week, and you'll see it's a little down at the back. Not a lot down at the back, but a little down at the back. Now, once I've loaded it, I might have to change those back springs. But it was an interesting experiment for me. I wanted to learn stuff. Okay. Question around the process of planning an expedition. This was from Pedro on the Canning Stock route. I am actually making an announcement. I'm not going to talk about it now, about the Canning Stock route and the permits. And I know some stuff from, I know inside stuff about the canning stock route. And I'm actually shooting a video, and we're getting together with all of the guys who are actually going to be filming the, going on the trip. Quite a big group of us now. And we're going to be making a decision on should we do that trip or should we alter it a bit, and the reasons why altering it may be a good or not idea. So that's what we're going to be doing, and that video will be out in about 2 weeks' time. So I'm not going to talk about canning any more than that. What do I think? This is Grant. What do I think about the Ineos Grenadier? I think it's a very exciting vehicle. Context of using it for remote travel in Australia, it has what has it got that some of the other vehicles haven't got? It's got solid axles, great for off-road. It's a station wagon. It's not well tested and well tried, although I think they are doing a reasonable job testing and trying it. I give them that. They seem to be. We're certainly getting good press, more than we normally get. I mean, think about it. A new car comes out. How often do you get the kind of press material of a new model release like you have done with the Ineos? I mean, they've done an amazing job. I take my hat off to them with the press, what they've done with the development of the vehicle. They've really got a great groundswell going, and I think they've done it very, very well. I'm excited about the vehicle. I don't know if I will buy one. I don't know if I will need one. I don't know if it'll be any better than what is available on the market so far. But I do think that it kind of fills the gap between, if you look at Toyotas, between Land Cruiser 300 and, say, Prado. And it has similar range, it has similar payload, but better payload. But we'll see. We'll see. More Patreon questions. Ryan has asked, do I have an experience with Dobbins springs and shocks and their reputation in Australia? I have a little bit of experience, but you know something, it's one of those, they're quite low key. They don't do a lot of promotions and things like that. They're just low key and they just get on with the job, and reputation in Australia generally I would say is very good. I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain about Dobinson suspensions or ever. So good. I've heard a lot of people say they really, really like them. Okay. Thanks for the videos. Or have you tried induction cooking yet on your setup? No. Okay. So how many days could you be camped and keep cooking? This is Mark. Here's the deal with my build. It's become a lot more complex than I need if I don't do induction cooking. If I do induction cooking properly, yeah, I kind of need that. If I don't do induction cooking, then I don't need that. So I want to try induction cooking, and somebody commented on the last video very aptly and said, is the juice worth the squeeze? Very, very good question. I don't know. I know what the squeeze is because I've done the squeezing. Now I have to go out and use induction cooking, and the whole point of it is to be able to say, hey guys, if you want to do it, these are the advantages. These are the clear advantages. Here are the questionable advantages. Here are the disadvantages, and this is what's going to cost you. You make up your mind if it's worth it. I don't know if it's worth it. I still don't know right now if it's worth it. It's been an interesting learning curve. Russell has asked about the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. Okay, for my style of overlanding, is it heavy duty enough for my style of overlanding? I'm not sure if it is. Maybe not. It's kind of on the edge for me. It's right there on the edge. Does it have the clearance? It doesn't have a lot of clearance. You can put slightly bigger tires and give it a little bit of a lift and puff it up a little bit, but is it that sufficient? I don't know, but I do like it. I like it it's a pity that the Sprinter 4-wheel drive isn't available in more markets, because I think it would do so well. Really, really, really would do very, very well. Yeah, the Mark, I will be doing a full walk around with my vehicle as soon as I've used it a bit and tweaked out things. We did actually oh no, that's a Range Rover thing I just did. That's one I'll show to you later. I spent the last 3 weeks intensely head down working on the troop carrier, and we did the last of the electrics this last week. The week before we did the last of the plumbing. Today Rob has actually got it and he's doing a final little bits of woodwork on the car to get the interior finished. He's doing that today, but I will go through. And the idea of the water hub basically is like the DC hub. You just plug in your component. You just plug in the components, and everything is all the difficult wiring. Stroke here, all the difficult plumbing is done for you. Hot water in, tank in, shower out, general water out, switch. All done for you, and it controls the temperature of the water. James, loving the troopy build. Did I hear you mention one of the videos of the rear setup may become available for sale as a flat pack? Yes, it is, but I am not the one creating the flat pack product. I am the one working with the guys at ProCam Solutions on developing for them. That's they build my car and they don't charge me. I help them create a product. That's the deal. That's why it works well like this, and we've created, I think, a really amazing product. When? Just keep watching. I don't know when. Hopefully soon. These things take time. This is Benjamin. Recently acquired a clean stock 100 series in the US. I've spent a time overlanding. What recommendation would you recommend I prioritize beside a good set of tires? Benjamin, I'm afraid that question, I can't answer that question because I don't know what the kind of traveling you do. I just don't know what kind of traveling you do, so I can't really tell you what prioritizing you do. I wish I could. Sorry, I can't. I wish I could be more helpful, but without asking you a whole lot of questions, I probably wouldn't go that way. Hello, Noel. Hello from Cape Town. Roshuan. Hi, Roshuan in Cape Town. Nice to see you. Ethiopia. Okay, details of the vehicle. Yes. So the vehicle that I'm getting in Ethiopia is being developed by a company there that is actually going to be renting out these vehicles, and I will be going there and using one of their vehicles. They've donated the vehicle for me for 4 weeks, and I'm going to be doing Ethiopia and northern Kenya, and I've got 4 weeks. And I'll let you know exactly what's going on. I'm sure I will probably make some recommendations to them. I've rented quite a few 4-wheel drives. I know it works, and I know it's important. So hopefully I can help them. Okay, I'm just refreshing this to make sure that I'm not missing any. Okay. Chris and Diane, might you offer insight as your survey results, specifically how involved Gwyn will be in future overlanding trips? Yes, she is going to. I know Gwyn is a spark in the channel. I know for many people she's an absolute highlight, but she doesn't do this professionally. This is not her work. This is my work. She will definitely be coming with me to our North American trip. Probably not the Africa trip, but definitely the North America trip, because after I do Ethiopia, Kenya, short stint in Dubai, and then North America for almost 2 months. We've got some amazing things planned in North America, something really unusual. Really, really unusual. Let's have a look here. Guys, there is a super chat option if you want to make sure that I see your question. It'll come up on my feed as a super chat question, and I will get to those questions because lots and lots. I'm getting lots and lots of comments, and of course I actually can't go through. I made a mistake with it. I made a mistake with that. 22. There you go. I wrote 2020 instead of 22 in the title. All right, let me show you this. So somebody commented when I put the fan on the dashboard in the Range Rover, And he commented and he said, that thing is not going to last 10 minutes. And I thought, of course it will. And then I had another look earlier this week and thought, he's right, you know, it's not going to last 20 minutes. And I tried to brace it on the dashboard, and no. So I made a few modifications, and this is the, this will now go on the dashboard like that on the Range Rover. Yes, it's overkill, and it's absolutely huge. But will be cool. All right, that's a far better, and it won't shake around. So I don't think it'll shake around quite as much, but it's quite easy to actually take off. So if we have to take it off, it's 2 minutes, and we can dismantle it. Anyway, so right, more questions from you patrons. Let me just quickly go through what I've got there. See above questions you missed. Michael, did I miss? Ah, yes. Okay. Do you have any travels to the East Coast of Australia and the East Coast shows? Here's the challenge with shows, and it's the same in East Coast of Australia, and it's the same in America. Unless I actually have a vehicle and a stand, it's difficult for me to meet people. Just walking around the show doesn't really. And I can't really meet people just walking around the show. And also, if I'm traveling somewhere, I have to make it count. I have to make sure that if I'm going to spend the time and money traveling, that I will come back with content. So I don't really have any plans to do East Coast shows. And I was hoping to do Expo East. But again, if I don't have forgive me for burping, if I don't have a stand where I can meet and greet people, how's it going to work? I haven't heard anything from, despite sending a couple of emails to Expo, they just ignore me. Maybe they're just not interested, you know. So as much as I'd love to do Expo East, unless I have some kind of assistance from the organizers, probably not going to happen. Okay, given that you have said you're not building any more troop carriers for clients, yes, I'm not doing that anymore. Are you looking to replace that activity? No, I am not. Well, okay. No, I didn't create a product and handed it off. See, the whole idea about Autograph was that it was my passion and insight and experience with the troop carrier that I could share with owners and really help them build something perfect for their own needs, and I found it difficult to do. Actually got a video on a little video in the edit room at the moment, and I'm doing my last one now, and I'll explain why I'm not going to do it anymore. I will act as a consultant, I will do that, but I won't actually physically do the work. Not that I did some of the work, but but I also was the project manager. So I did the work and I was a project manager, and but I was responsible, and that was difficult to cope with because I've had 2 clients who are just awful human beings. They're just the lowest human being you can imagine, and of course that's what happens. You know, these are expensive projects, expensive vehicles to build. Expensive build, which attracts people with lots of money. I'm not saying everybody with lots of money is an arsehole. I'm not saying that. But enough of them are. You know, money tends to do that to people. It's very common. Money, wealth, tends to turn people into ugly human beings. And unfortunately, they like troop carrier bills. You can't put your passion and get nothing in return. And in one case, when I say nothing in return, when I mean nothing with a capital N. Nothing. Not 1 cent. Johan Claessens has asked, will the canning stock Rio to travelers this year? Johan mentioned it before. I will be doing an announcement. I have an inside track on what's going on there, and about 2 weeks time I will present the whole thing. Okay. Grant has asked, any more trips to Africa other than Ethiopia in the next 12 to 18 months? No. I do have an idea, Grant, that I run a rebuild of Africa vehicle next year. I need a vehicle in Africa. I just want a vehicle that I can just arrive, get in it and go. Those of you who don't know, I lived in Africa for 38 years, and yeah, I miss it. I don't miss living there. I miss being there. There's a difference. So expeditions in Africa are still my most favorite thing to do in the world, is expeditions in Africa. So that's the long-term view. If we can afford it, we will build a vehicle in Africa next year. Travis has asked, can you address why you don't use HF radio? I don't need to. Now, I did a lot of investigations into HF and what it would take, and I think, this is just my opinion, don't machine gun me, but this is my impression. Okay, HF radio is for, and I'm not including Armageddon and the end of the world and all of that kind of stuff. I'm talking about general purpose use. HF radio is for amateur radio enthusiasts, and I understand that. But for me to carry the equipment, the antenna tuner, all of that goes with it, and it's a big learning curve for somebody who's not into radio, where I can pick up I've got an Iridium satellite phone, and I use it. I will make a call every day. This is what you can't do with the radio. Every day, if I'm on an expedition, remote expedition, particularly if I'm on my own, 7 o'clock in the evening, I'll take my phone out, I will turn it on, I'll adjust the antenna, and I will put it on the front of the car so I know the antenna has a clear view of the sky. So Gwyn, whoever knows the phone, knows the number, they can, if there's an issue and they need to reach me, contact me, and I will leave the phone on for 1 hour. Nobody ever phones me. Good. I don't want them to phone me. I want to be remote, and every now and again I'll actually phone them. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine, and let them know that I'm okay. Why would I do that? Why do I need an HF radio? Why do I need all of that equipment? When modern technology, I don't kind of see where it sits. You might disagree with me and say, yeah, this is where it sits. I don't think it sits the necessary with the necessary communications that you need while you're on expedition. You do it with a sat phone. They work. I very, very rarely had a situation where a sat phone has not worked for me. Ashley is asking, which overlanding bush track GPS do you recommend? GPS do you recommend? Okay, HEMA Maps. Okay, HEMA Maps on a tablet is damn good, really good. I have got the Garmin Overlander, which I'm very impressed with, but I'll tell you something, the HEMA app on a tablet is fantastic. I don't think it's fantastic. It is. It's absolutely brilliant. I've got it on both. I don't need it on both, but I have it on both. Okay. Any thoughts on the Earth Cruiser from James? I'd love to get my hands on one. I've actually been trying to get my hands on one, and during the lockdowns in Australia, I actually tried to organize one, but they didn't have any spare. They were struggling with stock. And this is in Australia, and so I was speaking to them because I would love to experience the Earth Cruiser. I'm quite impressed with it from what I've seen, for what they're doing, but I don't have first-hand experience of the Earth Cruiser. I think potentially it could be, but again, most of them are full size. They do make some compact ones based on Land Cruisers, I think. I know the G-Wagon one really interests me. But I wish I could have a more first-hand. I'm noticing quite a few questions coming up here about EVs, electrical vehicles for a remote trip. And I've been asked this a lot. Do I think EV is the future of overlanding? And the answer is no question. EV is the future, and it is. It's just the future. When they get a range, for me, it's not just about range. Two things. I need range, not because at the moment range is range from one service station to another service station. That's the range. And I would say almost every country in the world, the minimum, even United States. I found this when we did that Death Valley trip. We ran out of fuel. We had to buy it because we didn't have enough fuel. You need 1,000 kilometers. You need 600 miles. 1,000 kilometers. That's the minimum. That's the starting point. Okay, and so my Troopy, I got 1,600 k's standard tanks. Great. Perfect. Ideal. From fuel station to fuel station. Now with EVs. From charging point to charging point. Different story altogether. So you say, okay, oh no, the range of 600 kilometers, great. Yeah. I do 600 and I'm running out of, okay, we get to a town. Where is the charging unit in Halls Creek or Wiluna or, never mind, these remote Australian spots? Where am I going to charge where? How? Where's their charging point? So EV overland vehicles, it's on its way. Don't expect it anytime soon. Right Time is asking, what makes a great overland hat? Mine's a Jackaroo, and it's great. Very, very nice hat. I had an Akubra, but the trouble was with my Akubra, it was, I couldn't fold it up. So after a while it started looking very tatty because it was getting crushed in my suitcases and things. So it was not easy to travel with. And my Jackaroo is perfect because I can fold it up, and when I put it on my head, it still, looks like I haven't spent the night in a skip. So the foldy ones are better for me. But I do wear a leather. I do wear a leather hat. Danny is asking, how many places are left other than Australia and South Africa where you have a true solitary expedition? From Scotland, Danny. Oh, who knows? I think there are places. Mongolia is an obvious one. South America is getting more and more difficult now for those solitary expeditions, and again, I would need local knowledge to be able to say, yes, there are some spots in South America where here and there, but it's becoming less and less easy to find those remote solitary expeditions. But I am sure there are them, but I wouldn't know how to find them. So Africa, solitary expeditions in Africa are also getting quite tough because you travel through the remotest, when I say remotest, least developed part of, say, Zimbabwe. There are people all over the place. You can wild camp next to a village. They won't harm you. In fact, they come and look after you. They bring you water and firewood. Nicest people you can imagine. So Australia, you can get very, very remote in Australia. It's one of the highlights of travel in Australia, is that you can still get incredibly remote in Australia, and it's not difficult. Particularly Western Australia, but not just Western Australia. All of Australia, almost all of Australia, you can find places that are incredibly lonely and remote. But solitary expeditions with absolutely no people around, Australia is hard to beat, I think. Where else? Nothing comes to mind, to be honest with you. I'm sure there are places. Maybe people in the comments can actually comment. People are coming and saying Ukraine. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the Ukraine situation. It's very sad. The world is in a sad place right now. And I am like you, just have to deal with it and try not to believe all the news that you hear. Because everybody has an agenda. I have a 2002 W63 G500. Want to do some overlanding in America. Thoughts? Okay, G500. Alright, the G500, you will have problems with your shock absorbers and your wheel rims. You'll have very large wheel rims and low profile tires. You need to sort out the low profile tires. That's your priority. Sort out low profile tires. Low profile tires are hopeless in any kind of off tar travel. They are very bad. You need to do something about it. That's your biggest problem. If you can sort that out, then why the hell not? And the G500, it's got a range, not very good range if I remember, quite a small fuel tank considering the fuel consumption of that engine. So, but that would be your big thing. Do expeditions run on wheel spacers? Have you ever run them on? I've never run wheel spacers on a rig, and I'll tell you why. When a manufacturer sets up the geometry, the rolling geometry, suspension geometry of a car, they do it with a lot of thought. Making the wheels wider and set out wider never ends. I know some people will say, but it does. Unless you absolutely know what you're doing, you are probably going to reduce the performance of your vehicle by a long way. It's just for looks. With the Land Cruiser, that back axle situation on the Land Cruiser, it would improve it. But not many cars have that problem with a narrower rear axle to the point where it does actually affect performance to a degree. So why put wheel spacers on? What for? Really? What for? Looks? Well then, fine, go for it. Don't expect it to perform better. It won't perform better. It will almost certainly perform worse. And remember also that rear wheel spacers, tracks that are driven by vehicles with a regular standard width, the tires run in the so you've got the center, what they call in Afrikaans the middelmannetjie, the middleman, the hump in the middle, and the wheels sit in yes, and spacers are illegal in Australia, but not illegal in many countries. So the wheels sit on all the cars, whether it's a Jeep or a Nissan or a Land Rover or whatever, sit give or take the same width. Now you make your wheels wider. Now the edge of your wheels are now running on the edge of the track. Hello puncture. Expect lots of punctures. I've even seen Unimogs get an inordinate amount of punctures purely because the track they're driving on, their wheels are so much wider than the general track, and they pick up every piece of rubbish that's been thrown away. G'day, Mr. Buckaroony. Steaming hot far north Queensland. How are you doing with the... Those of you not in Australia, the eastern coast of Australia has been hammered by rain. Wow, you guys are taking it on the chin. Boy! I mean, floods, epic floods, biblical floods in Queensland, and now it's gone down, it's now New South Wales. They're not expecting to see a clear sky in Sydney until August. Wow, it's bad. Really, really bad. So I feel for you guys there. Would I run 255/85 R16? Yes, I would. In fact, I'm planning next year to do an experiment. I'm running 265 65 16s on the troop carrier. The first proper picture is actually in the thumbnail of this thing. It's the first proper picture. I'm doing a big reveal of the car. It's looking gorgeous. I'm loving the look of it. But I will be doing an experiment. I'm going to run it for a year on 265s, and then I'm going to put the 255 85s, and I will put them on because they're the same width, but they're an inch taller, and I will run it for another year, and I will try to get an insight into big advantage, big change, little change. What is it? I don't know. Experiment. Because my gut says that the 255 85 is the perfect wheel for troop carrier. Where can I get new seats in Perth for a 105? In Perth? No idea. scrapyard. Go to a breaker's yard. Let me see if any more Patreons have sent us, because all of those questions were actually from our general live. Let's have a look here. Okay. Right, John. The Canning route departure. The details of that in 2 weeks' time. I'm not going to let the exact time of our departure be known publicly. So, for obvious reasons. All right. Is there a HEMA equivalent? This is Grant equivalent for Africa. There is indeed. It is called Tracks for Africa. And they put it on the GPS. They put it on a tablet. I reviewed Tracks for Africa on the tablet in 2015, I think it was, and it was very disappointing. I'm hoping they've improved it, because it really was poor. So if you, on a Garmin GPS, it was great. On a tablet, it was poor. The database, the Tracks for Africa database, is very good, very good. But they do have a paper-based options of Southern Africa, Tracks for Africa, but they're enormous. They're like a bed sheet. They're just so big and difficult to handle. But lots of detail. Or there's the info map, which is far easier to use for general navigation with GPS coordinates. In fact, you don't need both. If I was to pick one, I'd take paper maps, info map, digital maps, Tracks for Africa. That's what I would travel with if I was traveling in Africa. Jackaroo hat. If you want the look, don't pay extra for the car. You can, but won't pay extra for the car. You can post some brands. The real deal. Okay, I don't know about that. Raphael is asking me about Jackaroo hats. I don't know. I have a Jackaroo hat. Real one. And I've had it now for 4 years. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Let's browse the. I think that's all from Patreons as we are. Patreons. Any other questions? Fire them through, and I'll get to them straight away. Okay. Right. Let's have a sip of. What's the time? How are we doing? Oh, we're doing okay. Okay. Given that you are embarking on a journey with a Range Rover and it's a petrol vehicle, how will you manage the fuel requirements in the outback where petrol is neither more expensive or less valuable? The value expense of it is not really our issue. It's can we carry enough? And we're going to need, I'm estimating, 200 litres of additional fuel to be carried in the back of the Range Rover. So the idea behind this is the Range Rover will carry all its own spare parts and its own fuel, but not the support equipment for the drivers. There will be in other vehicles. I think that's reasonable. And can it do it? Okay. Okay, was the Duetto 100 litre match for 2 people, and did you have remote as it state 80 minutes to fully heat up? Okay, mine did not take 80 minutes to fully heat up. Mine took about 45 minutes to heat up, the Duetto 10 litre. If you see, if you mix it with cold water, if you have some way of mixing the Duetto with cold water, then you can heat it to maximum temperature. And then you don't need as much of it. You can mix it with cold, and then actually quite a few people. I remember the 10 litre was easy for four of us showered on that easily. Also, if you run it while your car is driving, you will have a slightly higher voltage to it, and particularly if you're using AGM batteries, it'll make a big difference with AGM batteries on the heat up speed, because the voltage will be that much higher. And then when the engine turns off, of course, the voltage drops, and so it'll be slower and it'll take longer to heat up. I always used to turn it on and before arriving at camp, and for an hour or so, and just forget about it really, and when you arrive at camp, and just leave it on, because now it's just maintaining the temperature, so it's not using a lot of current. And then when we needed it, then of course the water hub has a little mixer, so it would automatically mix the water from either a separate bucket or the tank, and we would all have a shower. 10 litres is plenty for 2 people. You could get away with a smaller one. They make a smaller one. You could definitely get away with a small one. I know some people actually have the smaller one, and they say for 2 people sample. So you should ask a sponsorship of Coca-Cola. I should, hey. No, then I'll drink even more of it, and that's not a good idea. Thank you, Andy, for that suggestion. They should give me a big fat sponsorship. Because it always appears in my, I watch my thing, and it's always somewhere. There's a little red capped bottle somewhere. Me, because I sip a Coke. I like one when I'm on a trip. Do I know the largest size that will fit under the tire carrier of a 105 series Land Cruiser? I don't know. The trouble is with the 105 series Land Cruiser, as you know, that wheel carrier underneath. You could probably put a really big wheel under there, because but it hangs down and then it hits things. So one of the things about the 105, as much as I love the 105, the stock 105 as it comes out, it needs work on it straight away to get it right, because that stupid wheel hangs down. But take the wheel off, put it on the back somewhere, and then replace the wheel carrier space with a big fuel tank, and you now have most amazing range. I did that with mine. I was carrying 270 litres of fuel and my spare on the back. It was great. Really, really good. I see you guys having a good discussion there. So, just a word about the, I didn't put it very well in my last video about the merch store. So, we've created a merch store in Western Australia that ships internationally. Also, Egon, the Egon products, we ship internationally. So we've organized it. So anybody anywhere in the world looking for an Egon product, the postage is not expensive, and I can get you those directly from our store on 4xoverland.com/store. There's also merchandise we sell internationally. So this is one of the coolest, one of the older coolies. I've got, I think there are 2 different coolie versions. Whatever. There are coolies, there are key rings, there are stickers, there are patches, and all that kind of thing. We send out internationally. And then there's the apparel clothing, like this guy. There are 2 stores, and if you go in the /shop, you'll see one with a US flag. That is basically the Teespring, the YouTube, the Google run store called T. No, it's called Spring. They send out from the United States, and then we created one in Australia. So Australians don't have to spend that silly amount of money on having stuff shipped. Okay. Yeah, somebody else suggesting I get a sponsorship from Coca-Cola. Look, I'd have to be a footballer to get a sponsorship from Coca-Cola, believe me. Hey, anybody out there that is a big dude in an airline? I need some help from an airline. That's my biggest thing now. I need some help from an airline. That would be okay. Farmer John, yeah, Mr. Baccaroni. Coke is only good when it's got yeah, okay, got rum in it. Fair enough. I wasn't planning on Russia. What about the autograph box? Farmer John, autograph box. I've still got a whole lot of them. Very, very briefly, I helped design the box with the guys in South Africa. We created this product, and the deal was I would get a royalty. And all of a sudden they said, no, we're not going to give you a royalty. The margins are too low. I said, what's that got to do with me? You're not even negotiating. You're just saying, no, you can't have a royalty. We were going to give you a royalty, but you can't have one anymore. Oh, we didn't have anything in writing, and besides, even if we did, who's going to go to court over that? So, about the autograph box, brilliant idea. Sorry, I would be bringing them into Australia right now if there was something in it for me, but there's nothing, so I'm not going to do it. Working with people who are just dishonest. it is what it is. Still got your coolers. Okay, yes, good. Buck, very good. All right. Love to see more of your farm. Oh yeah, I did a little video called My Urban Farm, and we're loving it. It's an urban house, but we've got a little bit of land, and we've turned it into a little farm. It's on my other channel, by the way. Other channel, it's called ASPW. We are making another video of that. Okay, but it's not our full. We're just doing it for fun. It's not what we do for a business. It's just we're having fun with it. Thank you from Saudi Arabia. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any idea how long you plan to keep the current troopy? Okay. Should I address this chestnut, this elephant in the room? Am I going to sell it? Because some people say, oh, he's just going to sell it in 10 minutes, you know. Just because I sold one car fairly quickly after I bought it because it didn't satisfy me, I'm now going to sell everything. I'm keeping it for a while. That's all I have to say. And guess what? If I decide to sell it next week, well, then I will. But I have no intention of selling it. I want to drive it. I've got my car back. I'm not going to be. To be honest with you, I far prefer making travel films than build videos. I far prefer it. But we have been locked down. Hello, COVID. Do you remember COVID? We all got locked down. In Western Australia, we were locked down until 2 weeks ago. Until 2 weeks ago, this state was shut. You couldn't come in and you couldn't go out. We were locked in. So even traveling within the state was restricted. Okay, that has now changed. Ta-da, fantastic. My car's ready for going. It's changed. I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to travel again. I will be using my troopy. But if I decide to sell it and build something else, hey mate, it's me. It's up to me. I don't account for. I'm not accountable to anybody. Please come to Badger, California, and if you can, Mexico welcomes you. I love the idea of coming to Mexico. Been watching me for several years. Great bushcraft. I appreciate the good wishes. No bad stuff. Hey, none. No. Hello, Andrew. Speaking of wind noise and roof racks, what do you think of the Rhino Rack Pioneer platform and the Front Runner? Which one really has less wind noise? Well, if the Rhino has more than the Front Runner, then I will fall over and faint. Front Runners are noisy racks. Okay, they're noisy. I can't compare it with the Rhino because I don't have personal experience with the Rhino. All right, but I can say I've had personal experience of the Front Runner compared to many other racks, and it is very, very noisy. What else? Okay, can you tell more about the upcoming Egon products, the water hub? Okay. I don't want to go too much on about the Egon products. These things take a long time to develop, a long time. And we have the water hub, which I will bring you details of that when close to the time when it's actually, but it's ready for market because the new production version 2 went into my troop carrier now. We installed it, we're testing it, we're very close. Just keep an eye out on egon.com.au. Yes, Michael, about the UN human rights. Okay, I don't care less. I couldn't care less. We were locked into our country, and you could leave, but you had to ask for special permission, and I could have left. I could have left Australia anytime, no problem at all. But there is a limit to how many people that could come back because they didn't want to overwhelm the hospitals, which means I could leave but I might not be able to get back. I know somebody who waited 4 months to get back, and they were only in Queensland, and they waited 4 months to get back into WA. They were very cruel about it. And the argument is, well, was it worth it? Was it not worth it? I don't know. If I'd lost a family member as a result of the epidemic, then maybe it was worth it. But if I haven't, but I've lost a business because of it, well, then it wasn't worth it. So there's no clear definition of it is what it is, and deal with it. There's no use getting upset and like freaking out about it. The fact is the borders are open and I can leave now. Okay, good. Why have you never called JMax call conversion with your builds? Okay, JMax call conversions. JMax call conversion will do the following: increase weight, improve off-road performance, make the on-road performance probably a little better, but not necessarily, particularly when carrying a load. Okay, and a lot of money and a lot of complexity. So I like the idea more than the actual thing. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying, actually, the leaf springs, for the kind of driving and expeditions that I do, fine. They work fine, really. That's why I've not really done it. Okay. Picking up my 2009, this is Corey Fish 78 Troop Carrier. Can't wait. Trying to get my dream car. Good for you. Troopies are wonderful things. The thing is about a Troopie is that they're so versatile for 2 people. Fantastically versatile for 2 people. Severely restricted for more than 2 people. That's a troop carrier in a nutshell. If I was travelling with family, I probably wouldn't drive Troopie. I'd find another alternative. It's just, it's where it is. Grenadier. Yeah, Prashant is asking me about the Grenadier. It's really interesting. I don't know if I'll buy one or not. I might. Really interesting. I can't wait to get my hands on one and drive one. I don't know. I really don't know. Have problems with camera holders in cars, GoPros and phones. What brand do you go for? What kind of stuff? Okay, I use RAM mounts for my mounts, and I use this guy too. I've fairly recently purchased this for in-camera. This is the little Osmo. I mount it next to the dashboard, and the great part about this is, and what you've got to do is to get any kind of reasonable sound. You'll remember the Range Rover project. I had quite bad audio quality in the car, and I'm speaking to Andy here. And you can't get away with the microphones contained in those cameras. And I had a separate microphone, but it didn't work terribly well, and I had to get away with a lot of noise. This one has also got a separate microphone jack and a radio microphone, so this is something I use in the car where I get a good picture and I get a good audio as well, because that's if you haven't got all good audio, then picture comes second. So yeah, pay attention to the audio before you pay attention to the picture. I have a DJI action camera. It's all right. I wouldn't write home about it. It's actually poor in low light. There are others much better. Okay. Do you think the 70 series will stop at the V8? Will they make it with the V6, same as in the 300 engine? Eventually they will, because Toyota generally are stopping production of V8 engines across the board. So I am imagining that there will be a time when the 70 series will be available with the V6. I would be better than the V8. There's no question it would be better than the V8. From what I can't get my hands on a 300 series to test drive it, but from what I'm hearing from people that are driving it, they are altogether very impressed. Earlier on, the first people were saying, kind of, a bit disappointed, nothing special. And now, the people that know better are saying it's fantastic, really goes like stink. And people operating it in overland situations, don't know about that yet, because it's got a smaller fuel tank than the older one, which is a big deal. That's a big deal. Yes, it's a bit more economical, it is, but in terms of range, it's not as good as the old one. So I wonder. Recommendations on long distance spotlights. Okay, you want some spots. Boy, Stefan. Laser, this English manufacturer. This is one of the companies that offered me a brand ambassadorship, and I turned it down. But man, they've got some nice lights. They've got a new one like this. It's a driving light, so it's too big for my car. It's just too big. They offered me one, and I said no. Really, I'm quite happy with the Hellers. The Rocklume 380, I think I've got the square ones. They are seriously good lights. I didn't want the great big ones, but those laser, English made, impressive, really impressive. Don't buy GoPros, Andrew, they are garbage. Buck, I have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Did I stop at 6? GoPros. I stopped at 6. DJI actually, and the reason why I didn't like them, the reason was not because of the camera quality, not because of the cameras themselves, it was the software interface. Drove me spare. I would want to shoot something with it, and I would turn on my phone and it wouldn't link up. Half an hour you linked perfectly. Now you don't want to. When you're filming, the light is amazing. I remember there's one shot crossing Australia, and I think it was crossing Australia, or was it? Doesn't matter. The light was amazing, and there was this red dust, and the sun was coming through, and there's this just amazing red dust. And I wanted to get a shot mounted on the back of the car with this just plume of dust behind the car and this red light, and it would have been fantastic. And the damn camera wouldn't turn on. That was the last time I ever shot with a GoPro. I'll throw it in the bin. I won't let equipment frustrate me. I actually won't let it. I take the power. Yeah, I know Ronnie Dahl has a 300 series review coming out on Sunday. I am aware of it. I won't let equipment have the power to break my brain. No, equipment must work. So I don't think the action camera is as good as the GoPro in terms of picture, but interface, DJI is first rate, much better. Okay, a few more Patreon questions. Yes, the aircraft is on its way. It's arriving here on the 17th of March. I am still trying to find a hangar for it, so it's a bit of a nail biter at this moment. Okay, but I should be having it week after next. How much of the troop you build do you disclose in your videos? Are there any secrets you won't tell? Amir, no, there are no secrets. Absolutely none. Show everything. When I get given product, I say it. If I don't say it, you assume I bought it. On the solo trip, remote trip, are you fearful of the middle of the night? No, not really. Well, the night time when you're doing solo trips, the nights can be quite stressful. I'm not fearful, but it can be very lonely. I've done it in Africa a few times where it's been I've had it where it's my adrenaline sport, where you camped up in the tent and you have animals roaming around the outside of the tent, big animals with big teeth. Yeah, I can get a bit right. Buckaroony does live stream with guests. Yeah, Buck. Yeah, if you want to do a live stream, make a plan. Would you ever consider a Cape to Cairo expedition again? So, Greg, I tried one in 2000 and it was 13, and our sponsor cancelled last minute. Yes, I would. I would still like to do it. I would very much like to do it. And as I mentioned earlier in this live, I'm seriously thinking about doing another Africa build next year. And would I consider driving to Cape Town? I would consider it. I definitely. It is something I still on my bucket list. Having spent years of overlanding, this is Benjamin, with a wide cast of characters, what is the key trait you now look for in a travelling companion? That I know them. Because if you... Canning is going to be a bit risky because I know the people coming with us, but I don't know how they deal with expedition work. And the trouble is with my expeditions, I'm afraid I'm a bit... they're mine. They're my expeditions. Which means that I'm doing the expedition with the primary purpose of making a series of films. So everybody kind of has to understand that the reason why they're there is to let Andrew make his films. And that can be a little bit, because they of course have the right to have a great time and enjoy themselves. Of course they do. But at the same time, if they're joining me on my trip, the shoot comes first. It has to. It's my work. I'm working. I'm not on holiday. I'm working. It's what I do. Anyway. At least Australia doesn't have animals. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Marty. Africa is saying Australia doesn't have animals that want for a midnight snack. They don't in Africa either. They don't. Where did you buy your Rhino eye-test chart shirt? Oh wow, I can't remember where I bought it. It's one of my favourite shirts. It's a whole lot of rhinos in different sizes. It's one of my favourite shirts. I haven't worn it for a while, but I don't know where I bought it. Somebody bought it for me as a gift. The Ineos Grenadier, Johan, is in Australia at the moment, but whether it will be in Western Australia anytime soon, I don't know. And I did a video with costs about 2 months back, so you can go back and look at all the costs of the proposed costs in Australia of the Ineos Grenadier. If you were travelling with small children again, would you consider a camper trailer? Yes, I would. At this age, if I was travelling with children, yes, I would. But we travelled with children with a station wagon with a roof rack. My father travelled with 2 kids in a station wagon with no roof rack. Everything in the Range Rover. And we did some seriously remote stuff. But we didn't have a great big fridge. And we didn't have, we were minimalistic. And we had an incredible time. So as we soften up because of this amazing equipment that we now have available, it's understandable that we need somewhere to carry this stuff to make ourselves comfortable. So it can be done. You don't have to. You really don't have to carry all of that stuff. And I would suggest try doing it without a trailer and see what you absolutely need. Okay. Okay, right for travel, batch correct shop quotes. I don't know. I wish I actually could tell you about the shipping costs. I know there's a standard shipping cost. I'm the wrong person to ask, to be honest with you, I'm afraid, about the store shipping costs. Right, just scrolling back here. Right. Alright, nothing else from right, back to general comments. How are we doing? 2 o'clock. Okay, we've been live for another 30 minutes. Okay, what is it like being the David Attenborough of four-wheel driving? I've never asked him what it's like not being the David Attenborough of four-wheel driving. I did not come up with that phrase. I didn't. I would never have dreamt of calling myself after that, after Sir David Attenborough. Other people did, not me. And if you want to call me sir, go right ahead, but don't expect me to respond necessarily. I think I saw your wives and Bunnings jooned up, but I wasn't sure, and I didn't say hello. Would it have been intrusive to say hello? No, we get it a lot. We get, and that's fine. We get it a lot. I did have something the other day that was a little bit disturbing, and it wasn't okay, to be honest with you. It just felt uncomfortable. I mean, I know the gesture on the part of these people was innocent enough. He said, look, we don't do, he said, I've seen a show like this, and he gave me $20. And I said, and I thought, this is not, I don't need your $20. I appreciate that you want to contribute to the show, but at the same time, hey, that's not the way to, but he insisted, and he went on and on and on, and I took it, and I felt awkward. That wasn't right. I appreciate that you love the show and you want to contribute. Give that $20 to a hospital for children, and better, actually. Okay. Somebody asked me the other day, what are your favorite charities? I have two charities that I like particularly. One is I should actually make a mention of it in a future video. I support I'm terrible with remembering what they're called. They're doctors, they're eye doctors that go around the world helping people in less developed countries with doing eye operations, helping people who are blind who don't need to be blind. And another one who's actually going to be supporting, well, we're going to be supporting them on the canning. And they build wells all over Africa. They put in wells for clean drinking water. You and I just drink water. We don't even think about it. We just turn on the tap, clean water. Jeez, there's a big number of the world that just don't even have that. So those are the two that I like to support. Tough Bull Bars, don't know them. Daniel Prinsloo, good morning, Andrew. Is that a Rolex you are wearing? How old is it? It is, yes, it is. It is a Submariner, and it is 41 years old. I bought it new when I was 21. It was in January 1981, and I paid, are you sitting down, 704 rands for it. And it has been on my wrist ever since. Western Australia now and then. Where? Oh, you disappeared. Oh, here you go. Western Australia, use the contact form on 4xoverland.com or ASPWvideos.com. Yeah, one of those things is a contact form. Send me a message. What is a good one? Tire pressure monitoring system. What is the name of that brand that I used? I'm not actually putting one in my current troop carrier. I'm thinking about doing it, but I actually don't have a solution right now in my head. What is the name of that one? I had it in the Dream Tour. It worked well. And my green troop carrier. It worked well. The one I put in after the ARB one. Fred Hollows. Yes, Fred Hollows is exactly that, Mr. Buck. That's the one. Fred Hollows Foundation is the supporting the eye surgeons. Okay. Karen from South Africa, really enjoy your videos. Kiran. Thank you, Kiran. It's nice to hear from you. It's in South Africa. I just paid $79,000 for a 76 series in Perth. Good for you, John. How did the internet and internet streaming of video change your job? How did the internet and internet streaming of video change your job and industry? What a great question, Kieran. So I was, how's the Rolex holding up? It's fine. It's there. It is. Telling the time. It's only got one job. The internet changed my career fundamentally. I was television. I did 9 television series in South Africa, and those were broadcast in about 5 other countries, and there was a lot of money in it, and I spent most of my time going after sponsors. You cannot survive without sponsors. And I had one guy who he approached me. He was my business partner for a while, and it was a complete disaster. And he managed to get me a sponsor, and guess what that sponsor was? Go on, I challenge you to guess. A caravan manufacturer. And it was a lot of money involved, and these people gave us enough. In fact, they gave us enough money to do one of the best productions that I've ever done is The Search of the Okavango River. I still think that is amongst my best travel work. It was an amazing trip, but I had to suck up to manufacturers of trailers and caravans, and I don't like towing, and it was really tough. We did 2 series with them, and when the internet came along, I realized, hang on a minute, I can continue making my show. But by the way, I work a lot harder now than I ever did with television. Okay, much harder. Then I used to make 13 shows a year. Now I make over 70. Not to the same production standard, but probably 40 are to the similar production standard to those 13. And it enabled me to say, I don't have to chase sponsors anymore, because I have Patreon and the people that support my work like it enough to me for them to say, hey, here's a cup of coffee. Buy yourself a cup of coffee. Here's $5. Buy yourself a cup of coffee. But enough people say, here, it's enough for a cup of coffee. I make the productions without them. Changed it fundamentally. But I work a lot harder. I do work a lot harder. Okay, and I have to deal with YouTube and some quite nasty people in the world. But anyway. Gustav says, I remember the shovel you developed. I remember it too. He's obviously in South Africa. Yeah, I don't have one. I wish I still had one. It's good, wasn't it? It's good. What characteristic would you consider when choosing a rooftop tent? Expedition 24/7. Me. Rooftop tent. What is the most important thing about a rooftop tent? There are 2 things. The point of a rooftop tent is it's fast and convenient, and if it's not fast and convenient, then why not have a ground tent? B, you can pack in that rooftop tent your pillows, blankets and everything and get them out of the car, so you're saving space. Those are the 2 things you're looking for, to me. Okay, some rooftop tents are a pain to pack up. A mission. You need to be an acrobat balancing on the roof rack to pack it away. So there's your, where there's the differences. Yes, Mr. Marcus, it is a Rolex Submariner, and I bought it in 1981, brand new, and I still have it on my wrist. A lot of people talk about, notice my wrist. It's still ticking, and it still keeps very good time. Yes, Nighthawk, we will see soon. Now the water hub is in the new build, and that prototype is now going into 2 other vehicles for testing, and it'll be ready for the market quite soon. So expecting it in the next 3 months. 3, I guess. 3. It should be on the market. These things take time. We don't hurry things. We have a massive testing program. When those things go out, we know they work. There's all the guesswork is taken up. Okay. Traveling in Australia is relatively safe. I've always wondered how you go traveling parts of Africa and there's civil unrest. Okay, where is there civil unrest in Africa? Okay, where is it? There's a few pockets here and there, not to mention the wildlife that are dangerous. Wildlife isn't dangerous. Wildlife isn't dangerous. You just have to be clever. You just have to learn. It's not the wildlife of Africa is not out to eat you. And occasionally you'll have a confrontation where the animals can get your heart pumping a little bit. They're not inherently dangerous. However, if you're ignorant, yeah, you can get into trouble with animals in Africa. If you're ignorant, you can. But you can get into trouble in Australia if you're ignorant. You go travelling off into Australia in the middle of summer, crossing the desert, and then you have a major breakdown, and you haven't done the smart thing. I won't go into the details. If you're ignorant, yeah, it's just as dangerous as driving in Africa and being ignorant. So I don't. Africa is not more dangerous than Australia. Is it? I don't think it is. Chandra, upcoming travel trans videos. Yes, Ethiopia, Kenya, North America will be happening this year. Matthew, good. Hello from Wyoming. All right, that's the Patreons. I hope I'm keeping up with you guys and with all of your thing. No, John, it is a genuine, but it was bought for, I didn't say 640, I said 704. The Rolex was bought in 704. It is a genuine. It has been serviced by Rolex themselves, and it wasn't from Bali, because I assure you, if I bought it in 1981 and it was a Bali Rolex, it wouldn't still be ticking. Okay, Mulga roof conversion. Don't know it very closely. I think it's quite ugly, but I don't know it closely enough, and I haven't actually had a really good close look at it. Mulga, for those of you who don't know, is a similar roof conversion than I have on my troop carrier. It's very similar, and it's made in, I think it's made in Western Australia, if I'm correct. Anyway, but I don't know close enough. Yeah, would you try the Gibber River Road again? It still needs your talent applied. Thousands would agree. I'm not sure if I'll do the Gibber River Road again. I want to go up in Arnhem Land. I want to do Arnhem Land and the Gulf of Carpentaria. I want to do that area before I do the Gibber River Road again. So probably not. Off-road tire temperatures. If you're comfortable, touch tires when running low pressure, warm but not hot. Is that a guide? That's fine. As far as I'm concerned, it's a really good find. If you can't touch it because it's too hot, it's too hot. But if it's like a warm coffee mug, you're okay. But don't let it get hotter than a warm coffee mug, because they shouldn't actually be getting hot. They shouldn't be getting hot. And if they are getting hot, then you're driving too fast on that low pressure. There's too much flex. Temperature is created by two things: the actual surface on which you're driving and the amount of flex. So those two things can affect the temperature. Rooftop tent, hard shell canvas or nylon. I prefer the hard shell because of the convenience. So as I said, rooftop tent, if you've got these two things, being able to put in, leave in your night blankets, sleeping bag, pillows inside a tent, and convenience. And the hard shell are far more convenient. They are a little bit they're a little bit more cramped than the other kind, but to me, you're only sleeping in a tent really. So for me, that's not a big deal. To me, it's more important that they're easier to pack up, because those big ones that kind of go all the way over and they've got the big tent, they are such a pain to pack up. Can't say. I prefer, give me that or a simple boat tent on the ground. Take ground tent any day of the week. Any day. I won't. I've had one. In fact, we had one in when we were in 2018 in Africa. I had a rooftop tent on the car. Didn't use it. Used the ground tent. No, I don't, John. You enjoyed the video, the 105 across Africa in search of the Okavango River. I do not have. I do. Hold on. I did something through the Western Cape, all the way up the Western Cape. There are one or two things with that 105. Not a lot. There are one or two things. Oh, and I also went to Mozambique with that 105. So you'll have to go searching on the channel. I did a Mozambique trip with that 105 as well. Could you build a troop with a left steering wheel? I'm in the Middle East. Well, no. You can buy a troop carrier with a left steering wheel in the Middle East. But converting it, nobody is converting it. In future videos, can you collaborate with more conservations like you did with lion, leopard, and... Okay, good idea. Do you think it's safer for 2 women to overland in Botswana? TT, yes, with a capital Y. Yes, it is. Just understand the challenges of the wild animals. Just understand it. Appreciate and understand the challenges of wild animals when camping in Africa. But Botswana is fantastic. Fantastic. I miss it like crazy. Of all the countries I miss the most, well, I miss Southern Africa, Botswana, and Namibia. I miss massively. Zambia too, mind you. Zambia. Zambia is fantastic. Glenn is looking for my antenna bracket on the UHF on the side of the Alucab. I got it from Quick Pitch. Hi Andrew, would you do Australia's longest shortcut? Are you talking about the Great North Road? Not sure exactly which road you're talking about. I would try anything in Australia. Anything. Lots of questions. Thank you for those questions, guys. Difficult for me to get. Alright. How about a series where you are being filmed? This is from Nils. By people with the right skill on the trip that you can enjoy the trip. That'd be a thing. That'd be a thing. I do enjoy the trip even though I'm filming it. I promise you I enjoy the film. And I do enjoy the filming part of it. I love the filming part of it. What has been my best rant? I just did a rant on a particular car brand and I tell you, I got machine gunned. It was a good rant. Yeah, it's I just see it as I see it. I appreciate that you enjoy the rants. What's the difference between the first generation and second generation DC hub? Great question. The new one can handle 24 volts as well as 12 volts. Okay, and the 50 amp connections have been upgraded to 80 amps. So that's what the difference is between version 1 and version 2. Cool trucko. I have a vehicle that is overheating after I have added lights and a winch to the front. What is your suggestion? I've had a situation where a little bit of a backstory here that maybe this will help. On the search for the Okavango, my mate Jacko in his 105, we're around the campfire and he's having a go at me about I've fitted a very simple turbocharger onto that 105 with a little wastegate thing that opens when there's overboost to protect so that I don't overboost the engine, and he's giving me a hard time about it. And he's got a Safari turbo, which is a good product, and but he's saying he's got overheating, you know. And eventually I said to him, Jacko, you're giving me a hard time about this. Very simple, but you got overheating. I haven't got overheating. I'm fine. I'm getting better consumption than you. I'm getting a similar performance upgrade because we both got the 1HZ engine. And you're the one with the overheating. I haven't got the one overheating. And he was going on and on about it. And eventually, around the campfire, I said to him, those lights. He had big IPF lights on the front, which is 105. I said, get rid of those lights. He was complaining about heat in the footwell over the transmission tunnel. So get rid of those lights. And he would just shrug it off. And he would daze and he was moaning and complaining. And one night I noticed we were around the campfire. I looked and there was Jacko. He hadn't joined us around the campfire. He was taking his lights off. Say anything. So later that day, mid of the day, pretty hot. I called him on the radio. I said, hey Jacko, how's it going? He said, it's cool in here. Oh dear. Lights, too big. the airflow can't get to the radiator, and it's got to flow. Air's got to move. And if you put something in the middle, thank you, Mr. Buck, appreciate it. If you put something in the middle to deflect the airflow, it's going to slow the airflow through the radiator. You have slowed the airflow through the radiator. There is nothing you can do but speed up the airflow through the radiator. My guess is you've got pretty big lights. Okay, you're not the first ones to put a set of lights in the front of a car and have it start to overheat. You're not the first one. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that very, very much indeed. Let me just check out these, see if there are any more Patreons out there. Danny is asking, was the search for this source of the Van Gogh your toughest trip for the vehicle, but more as a person, and how long has it stayed with you? It wasn't that tough on the car. It was tough, but it wasn't extreme on the car. There were some rough bits, but it wasn't day after day of just, it wasn't. It was 66 days, and it was driving some of it with people that, I mentioned earlier that I had this producer that worked with me, and he was, so I decided not to take a cameraman because I organized a cameraman. I should tell this as a story time. I organized a cameraman, and but I was a little bit worried how he'd handle, because Angola was going to be extremely remote, and we would be cut off, really cut off. And so I wanted to make sure that he would be able to cope with things. So we did something there's a film of it somewhere in Natal, and he was hopeless. He couldn't handle being away from the phone. We would shoot something, the next thing he's back on the phone with his wife, and I realized, you are going to be miserable on the trip, and you are going to be a liability. So I got rid of my cameraman, and I had to shoot it myself. But it was going to be better doing that than having to deal with a person who was just not functional. And so, and my producer, I said to him, you have to step in, okay? But he didn't. I would get to the breakfast table. I'm filming. I'm doing my content. They set out breakfast. We had a crew with a backup, a guide, and they would organize food for us. And all the food's finished. And I'd say to him, could you not? I'm working. That kind of stuff made it really, really tough. But if I look at the content, if I look at the story, and if I look at the adventure, and if I look at that country, and go, I mean, all three countries, amazing. It still stays with me now as probably the toughest, most challenging, but also the most rewarding. And that end scene where we finally find the river was absolutely magical. We literally found the droplet at the end of the river. We had traveled all the way down for 66 days, and it was just, and that scene to me is, I think, the best scene I've ever shot. All the villagers came down, they started laughing and carrying on, and we told them where this water we'd got come from the highlands of Angola, and we were going to pour it in there. It was just magic. It was magical. And that was done for television, and that has been my most successful television series. That's been sold to about 6 countries as a standalone series. It was good. It was good work. It was good work, and that was done before the world changed with, well, my world changed with YouTube. But it is on. The series is on YouTube now, but it was made for television. There were 13 24-minute shows. Okay, how are we doing here? Anybody? I have a Mulgo conversion, and it's fine. Version 1 is ugly. Version 2 can be sprayed to match the vehicle paintwork. Benefit is low overall height compared to Alucube. Downside is shorter bed. Okay, that's news on the Mulgo from Mark. The Mulgo roof conversion. What happened to the Alps trips with the Land Rover? That is COVID completely torpedoed it. So it was kind of shelved. Whether we might do something in the future, maybe we will, but it was shelved because of COVID. There was no ways we could make that happen. Eventually it just became, well, no, we can't do it. So maybe we'll do something. Maybe we might revive that. That was a new Defender. A couple of new Defenders driving around now, having stuff done, equipment done in them. I'm sorry, they leave me stone cold. They leave me stone cold, those cars. They're really nice to drive, but as an Overlander, they leave me stone cold. It's personal. Okay. John, if COVID didn't happen, would you have changed the 1HZ to most recent 105? Would have changed the 1HZ to the most recent 105 to a 1HD FTE? What would be the merits of swapping the 1HZ? Okay, they never made the 105, of course, with the 1HD FTE. And I know some people who have converted it. It's quite an expensive conversion, but brilliant, because the 1HD FTE is one of the best Toyota engines. And the 1HZ is a bit of a dead dog. It's just so underpowered. I guess you get used to it, but it is really underpowered. And swapping it would be worth doing, but for the expense, it would definitely be worth doing if you could get a good. But I don't believe it's easy. I think it's quite complicated. It's my impression anyway. Greetings from Mexico. I've been watching your channel recently. You want to yeah, lots of international views. I'm not making comments on Nissan Patrols. I know you're baiting me here. Enough now. What is your opinion of the ARB air compressor, single cylinder and dual cylinder? Well, you know, like I've got an ARB dual cylinder. I've heard people say it's not really great value for money. You can do X, Y, and Z. So, you know, they're great. They work. They're fast. Great. Difficult for me to make a comparison, but you know the thing is with compressors, actually, you can buy a fairly inexpensive compressor, and hey, it does the job. It does the job fine. The ARB is a bit of a, yeah, it's nice having it. What's really nice is actually having a small air tank to be able to. An air tank speeds things up a lot, I find. You know, it really does. Do I think a second spare, this is Johnton, is needed in remote touring and if running mud terrains and lowering pressure in Australia? Tyre repair kits, of course. GVM is a killer for carrying spares. Okay, John, yeah, you're right. Put a rear bumper on, massive weight, okay, 50 kilos minimum. 2 spare wheels hanging off the back, another 80 kilos minimum. Okay, that bumper is doing one job. So if you don't use a bumper for carrying 2 spare wheels, you can use it and make it more useful actually carrying just 1 spare wheel, and then maybe carry some jerry cans or something on the second carrier. You can do that. It is hanging right off the back, which takes the weight distribution and messes it up massively. And that affects the handling, because now you've got this big thing swinging on the tail and increases oversteer. I have decided with my latest troop carrier, for better for worse, on putting a single, I'm leaving the standard wheel carrier on the door. The result of that is that the Land Cruiser's door is a very strong piece of equipment. They don't generally break with one wear on it, but I'm going a mud terrain tire, which is stronger than the all-terrain tire, hoping that I will, because I look back and think, how often have I carried 2 spares? How often have I needed 2 spares? Never needed 2 spares in my life. Actually, that's not true. I have needed 2 spares once, and I wasn't carrying 2. But that was with was with the Range Rover, and the tires were terrible, and they used to burst. Yeah, it's a conversation that lots of people are going to have. I have decided this time I'm going to keep it light and carry one spare wheel. Okay. Okay, let's see if there's anything else from Patreons. How are we doing? Okay. Are you having fun? Are you having fun? What do I look for in an awning? Any particular points? Mark again. Thanks for all the questions, Mark. I appreciate it. Any particular points when choosing one? Weight versus setup time versus poles needed. Okay, weight is a big deal. Okay, the one I've got now is heavy. Too heavy, it's on the limit of saying, well, gee, is it worth that amount of weight that high up? But it is massive, huge, and if I'm the kind of person that stops often, then one of those awnings is fantastic because it's a couple of minutes out and it's less than a couple of minutes and it's back. So actually having the awning is a real bonus because I can just, oh, that's a nice spot. I don't need to look for a tree necessarily. I've got shade. That to me is valuable because I travel almost every day. Well, mostly when I'm traveling almost every day, and I'm stopping quite often. And having that instant shade is great. The no poles thing, it's again, if it's a hassle to set up, then, well, you won't use it as much. Believe me, I had one on a couple of vehicles. It was a old Easy Awn. It was one of the old Easy Awn awnings, and I hardly ever used it because it was too much. Hello from Andres from Bolivia. How the speed at which the amount of time it takes to set up and put away is a big factor on how much time you're going to use it. Big factor. And you've got to decide how often am I going to use it. Because if I'm not going to use it that often, get one that is lighter. Maybe it has poles. Maybe it has it's more time to set up because you're hardly ever going to use it. And when you are going to use it, you might be camped up for a couple of days. Then get a lighter one. And if it's got poles, it doesn't matter if it's got poles. Not a big deal. But if you're moving every day and you want quick shade, then one of these self-standing ones are what I'd go for. That's the way I look at awnings. And my one is well over 30 kilos. Actually, I don't know how heavy it is. It might be less than 30. It might be 28 kilos. 28. I think it's 28 kilos. Anyway, they're heavy and it's high up. And for a trip carrier, you don't want weight high up because they're already leany. So, it's the cost is weight in a place you don't really want it. Yeah. My thoughts on portal axles. If you're going off-roading, there is nothing like it. Portal axles is the way to go. If you've got the money, way to go. Off-roading. Not overland touring. Overland touring, expense, center of gravity is now lifted. Vehicle geometry is going to go for a complete ball unless it's part of the original vehicle design. Portal axles are going to throw out the suspension geometry and center of gravity of the vehicle completely. It could easily ruin the ride of a vehicle. So it's not a case of, oh, let's put it on, gee, it looks good. What is that actually going to do to the handling of the vehicle? If you're going just off-roading, yeah, clearance, more clearance. Everybody wants more clearance. But on touring and high-speed driving, portal axles, generally speaking, are doing you no favors at all. And it could even go to the point where it could make the vehicle dangerous because of the added lift. It's only a small amount, but think about where it is. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is a good one from a Shy. Can a non-turbo 1HZ Land Cruiser perform well in the Namibian high sand dunes? No, it will not perform well. Do it anyway. I remember once I had built my first cruiser that had the 1HZ, and it was a dog. And we were doing a dune trip and a couple of people joined us in a place called Lambert's Bay, north of Cape Town. And there were about 7 people in the convoy, and I was invited out there, and I just wanted to get a feel of the car. I literally just wanted to get a feel of the car. And the first dune, I remember the first dune was quite a mean, and I went first straight up to the top. Okay, I'd driven the early morning, and I was getting used to the gearing and everything like this, and half of those cars couldn't get up that slope. And they had V6s, they had much more powerful engines. Okay, let's put it this way. You're not going to find it easy. It's not a great dune. It's underpowered, and it's not great on the dunes. If you are heavy, you are really going to struggle. When I did this little jaunt, I was empty. I had nothing in the back. So, do it anyway. Hey, what's the worst that can happen? A couple of guys help you out now and again because you need to take the side route because you can't quite, because the V6s and the, are doing better than you are. And also make sure that your tires have got a wider rolling diameter. Bigger rolling, not width, height. You want height. Width is not going to help you on sand. People think width, wide tires help on sand. It doesn't. It doesn't, because of the rolling resistance. Wheel diameter helps on sand. It's the most important thing. So even if you have a really skinny tire, it doesn't matter. If they're nice and big, let them down. You'll let them down more, and you'll be great. Skinnies can work on desert perfectly well, as long as they're tall. That's my theory, guys. That's all it is. I know you'd love to yell at me for this opinion, but there it is. I've proved it so many times, staring me in the face, just watching vehicles and driving my own vehicles with narrow, skinny tires and following them at half the speed they're driving. And I've got narrows the same, and they've got wides, and they have to gun it up these dunes flat out to get up. I don't have to. No. Not width. Width doesn't help. It helps a bit. It helps to a point, but overly wide, that's not the big question. To me, it's tire size. That's where the difference between a 32 and a 33 can make a massive difference. Whereas the difference between a tire that's this wide and a tire that's this wide will make almost no difference at all. A tire that's 1 inch taller will make a massive difference. There you go, little rant for you. Okay, Mr. Moose, Egon Relay Hub. Okay, the Relay Hub, my one in my vehicle is the second one. We actually turned it on all yesterday and it all worked. First time. We're very pleased. Okay, so the Relay Hub is a switching device that can work with any product like ARB links or anything where you want to switch. It's a smart little thing. But we're doing our testing now, and we'll be in testing for at least another 3 to 4 months before we release it. It's a nice product, but again, we're not in a hurry. We make sure this thing is just ta-da before we release it. Okay. Thoughts on the pre-rego coil conversions? I mentioned that earlier. If you're going off-roading, coil, yeah, convert it to a coil. If you're going off-roading, if you're just touring, why? Have I changed the clutch on my troop carrier? I have not, but I would definitely consider changing the clutch on my troop carrier if I upgraded the engine in any way at all. The standard clutch is, yeah, it's fine. It's nothing special. But I know that that engine, if you upgrade the engine power, the clutch is not good enough. And so if I did go the performance route, I would definitely change the clutch, no question about it. Incorrect. Your last video you said with the first ever rooftop tent was the Easy On. Did I say it was the first ever? It was the first widely known, widely exported rooftop tent. Okay. And you were saying that it was the Italian invention in the 1950s. Very, very possible. Very, very possible. Both hard shell and soft. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. Easy On was one of the first ones that was widely available around, in different countries in the world. was one of the Giacomo. Appreciate that. He was Italian. Well, you're Italian. You'd know. We'd like to know about our country and what we've invented and everything. It's cool. What are your thoughts on the Toyota Prado as an Overlander? It's good. It's good. Reliable car, well made. You've got challenges with your fuel reserves and range. Got to do a little tweaking there. Not difficult, because there are lots of products that can help you with that. And being the way it's designed, very easy to put a little bit bigger wheels, give it a little bit of a lift. Very, very easy to do that. It's what we wish that the Land Rover Defender was capable of doing. That you could tweak it, get it right, which you can't do with the Defender. And it's why I am personally disappointed with it, because that's it, leave it as it is, low profile tires, deal with it. Anyway, I could go on and on. I always wondered why Toyota was not doing an automatic 79 series. Your thoughts from Somerset West. Somerset West is where I used to live in South Africa. Because they're not building enough of them, and you must understand that the majority of 70 series Land Cruisers are bought by NGOs and mines and industry, not four-wheel drive enthusiasts. So that's probably why, and it would be a big investment. I can't imagine it would be a massive investment. I would be extremely tempted to buy an automatic. I probably would, actually, if there was an automatic. Okay. Yeah, great footage in your videos. You like the stuff with Gwyn. I appreciate it. Yes, more coming with Gwyn. She is. You must understand that Gwyn wants to be part of the channel, but the point is that I do this for a living, and this is what I do. That's not what she does for a living. So Sarah, Gwyn is in excellent shape. We've got some more videos coming out. Reading some comments now from Patreons. Testing any Wranglers again in the future, and any camping vlogs. I don't have a Jeep in my future. I don't see a Jeep in my future, but you know, these things come along every now and again. There's an opportunity to drive a Jeep. You never know. Okay. Any chance of putting together a list of must-see or do in Namibia and Botswana for us trying to plan an overseas trip there? Okay, Grant, I'm actually creating a course now about overlanding. It's part of Overland Workshop. Overlanding in Southern Africa, all of the countries, the pros and cons. And then asking the question, okay, so what are you after? Are you after animals? Are you after remote? Are you after scenic? What are you after? Culture? What are you after? And then the highlights of each of these individual countries in Southern Africa, and then information on rentals, information on living with animals, camping wild, all of that kind of stuff. So that's part of Overland Workshop, and that should be finished within the next, my guess is, I'm trying to finish that up before I leave on the canning, which is in June, which is coming up fast. Andrew building a 1H75 and it's 80 with a 1HDT intercooled and cool version. I'm not sure. What thoughts are you interested in? Are you taking a 75 and you're taking a 1HDT intercooled and putting a coil conversion from coil conversion from 79, but the 79 doesn't have coils. So I'm not. Can you ask that question again? I'm not understanding your question. I'm a little confused with your question. Thoughts on a budget rebuild of an old BJ40? A woman who knows not much about it at all. Okay, you want to build a BJ40. You must understand, Sarah, that this is driving old vehicles look fun. It is fun, but it's not comfortable. They're not nice to drive. The Range Rover is an adventure every time I get into it. They're not nice to drive. They're noisy. Their steering is terrible. And they're great fun. But doing a really long expedition in one, that's tough going. Don't expect it to be comfortable. It won't be. but just as a fun run around, and it's fantastic. How has getting older affected your camping? I am feeling rooftop tents a bit of a mission at my age. Oh, Greg, you're absolutely right. Rooftop tents, particularly packing them away, they are a mission to pack away. If it's not easy to pack away, give me a ground tent anytime. I find that once I do camping, I get after I've been on the road for a week, I'm much fitter on the first few days. The first few days, the simplest task becomes, creaky bones and all that rubbish. And when I did that video about are we becoming lazy. I'm afraid we get a little bit older. Yeah, why not? We become lazy. We sometimes take the easiest route to get something done. What's wrong with that? It's easy being uncomfortable when camping. It's so easy. Anybody can do that. Okay. 15 minutes, guys, and I'm going to wrap this up. That's given you 2 hours. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. It's giving me a warning, a low bitrate. Oh well, whatever. Okay. More questions from the general viewership. Ford Bronco. I've asked the guy now in Mobile Modo has asked about the Ford Bronco. I am doing a collaboration with TFL Off-Road in the United States. I have teed it up. We don't have details at the moment, but I've said to them, please can I have a Bronco? They're a good bunch of guys there. If you don't know their channel, TFL Off-Road and TFL, what's the other one? TFL, they've got a series, I think they've got 3 channels, or maybe even 4. They do a lot of good stuff, good motoring stuff, good four-wheel drive stuff. Okay, does Heine run a negative cable all the way back to the start battery, or so the chassis ground when installing DC-DC? No one can give me a straight answer, and I don't trust Facebook heroes. Mr. Muth, listen to me clearly. Run a separate earth cable. Stop looking for this piece of information. Pom, 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 pom. You see, the thing is that an earth strap will work. Reduce voltage drop. Here's any question like that is, what would reduce voltage drop? Ask that question, answer it, and do that. Run a, hey, do both. We're an earth strap and a cable. Minimum voltage drop. Okay. I haven't run an earth strap. But I have made sure that my engine starter earth straps are really good. And for my auxiliary battery, there is big negs, big lugs on, always separate. Okay, lots of people talking about Shane Warne. Shane Warne was a famous and infamous Australian cricketer who passed away this last weekend. He was, as a bowler, he was something to watch, that guy. He was something to watch. Man, he was good. He was good at bowling. Oof. Yes, they have TFL Off-Road, TFL, that's right, TFL Truck, TFL Talk and TFL Car. TFL Car and TFL Off-Road are the 2 that I actually watch quite. Thank you, Smuckers, for that. Will I be doing more petrol-powered four-wheel drives in the future? Yeah, I don't know. You know, the thing is with diesels... Sorry, it's the Coke's making me burp like a... It's all about range. And if a car can give me better range with a diesel engine than a car's, then that's why I'm going to, because range is such a big deal, and it's always one of those things when building an overland vehicle is, okay, what's my range? Can I get it any better? and with a diesel it's always better than a petrol to give you better range. So, you know, so will I build a petrol? No. The Range Rover is going to be, it's obviously running petrol motor, 3.5 original carburetor. We're going to be doing this long distance trip. By the way, those people that missed the front of the show, we're going to be doing an announcement in 2 weeks' time. We're actually shooting it next weekend. We're taking the Range Rover on the dunes with the standard rims and the standard tyres to see what happens. Letting the pressures down, driving over the dunes, getting an idea of the fuel economy, and then discussing the Canning stock route project, and not just the project but the fact that the Canning stock route is still, in inverted brackets, closed, and what's happening, and you know, what we will do as an alternative should we decide to make an alternative plan. That's happening in a week, and the video will be out in 2 weeks' time. So and I have some inside information on what's happening with Canning. So yes, the FJ Cruiser is a wonderful petrol. FJ Cruiser, I think it is it is a great fun. It's great off-road, it's good on-road, it's enormous amount of fun. It's like a sports car, no room in the back, good room in the front, but the earlier ones had small fuel tanks, so range was a challenge, and the later ones had a better fuel range, but its overall range was not that great. But they're fantastic to drive and fantastic performance off-road. Lovely to drive off-road. Quite thirsty. We never got the diesels in Australia or South Africa. We never got the diesel FJ Cruisers. Only the 4-litre petrols. What are your BP51 settings? I'm not telling you. I can't remember. I've got them written down somewhere. But I've tweaked them since then. So the settings on my new one, not the same as my old trippy, because the rear springs are behaving differently. Like the front springs are behaving differently too, but the back springs is particularly noticeable. So, Richie Benno of Overlanding. Yes, Marcus. He was a cricket commentator with a very high voice. And he used to get extremely excitable. You used to be able to watch the fuel gauge needle move on Fraser Island in your Range Rover. You absolutely sneeze and the thing moves. It's gonna move on that trip we're gonna do. Yeah. Okay, can you talk about the 235 85s? Okay, I had 235 85s on mine. I mentioned it earlier in the same broadcast. I'll go through it very quickly. And I put 265 75s on the newer one, same diameter, and because of road handling. Gravel road handling, I found on the 235s. It was a bit squiffy, didn't quite glue on the road particularly well. The 265 works much better. Off-road, no difference. No difference off-road. I just think it was mainly an on-road performance thing for going the slightly broader tire. Don't know the 4Runner Surf particularly well. Actually, well enough to comment on it, to be honest with you. Haven't actually driven one. Seen them around, read about them, haven't actually driven one. Have you thought about a wholesale automatic conversion, given the amount of funds spent on your builds? You know, I get a fair amount of stuff given to me for my builds. I do spend on my builds, and balance of this, I wouldn't be able to get an automatic conversion. I would have to pay full price, and is it worth $20,000+? I'd rather go to Africa and spend 2 months in Africa and spend the $20,000 in Africa shooting some films than $20,000 on a automatic conversion for my troop carrier. So no, I'm quite happy with the way it is. 12 miles per gallon, Fraser Island in your Range Rover. 12 miles per gallon. It's quite good. I say it's quite good because I've had worse. I've had much worse in my Range Rover than that. Would you be mad if I bought a Range Rover off-road? Hold on, you just jumped. Okay. Stephanie White. Who's Stephanie White? That name rings a bell. Can't think about who that is. Stephanie, I have one thing to say to you. Shut up. Stephanie's my daughter. Stelling Tories on the road with great footage is a real draw card. That's what I try and do. What about Cape York? Definitely plans to do Cape York, but nothing specific at this moment. Okay, Buck, now you're stretching it. I was David Attenborough, I'm now Richie Bennett. What do you take on dual battery system in that is under the bonnet? Okay, under the bonnet, if you're going to put a battery under the bonnet, then you're going to need an AGM or similar under the bonnet, and then your DC-DC charger has got to be something that can take high temperatures. So all DC-DC chargers have temperature sensors, so putting them under the bonnet can cause difficulties because it gets very hot in there, and so the DC-DC charger can think, oh, battery's too hot, and it'll actually reduce the current of the charge current. So not an ideal thing to do, but and of course lithium underneath the bonnet without as high temperatures, it's not going to last very long. It'll operate reasonably well, but it won't last very long because they don't like heavy weight. What are your thoughts about putting FJ Land Cruiser under the axles under a Range Rover Classic? I would say if you're going to do that, then why don't just buy a Land Cruiser? Just buy an FJ80 Land Cruiser. Better reliability and strength. Yeah, buy a Land Cruiser. It's a terrible idea. Sorry, Ray. Was that Ray? No, it wasn't. Oh no, it was Farmer John. I think it's a terrible idea. Just buy a Land Cruiser, FJ80 Land Cruiser, and leave the Range Rover as it is. Actually, leave the Range Rover at home and just go in the Land Cruiser. Classic Range Rovers are not for overlanding. We're doing this now because it's just an experiment, and I've got this passion about Range Rovers, and I just want to drive an old Range Rover across the Australian desert. That's it, to prove nothing else. And those axles on the Range Rover, don't overload it like anything. Don't overload it. Don't treat it like a race car, and you won't break it. You're perfectly strong enough. I wouldn't call them strong, but they're not weak. They're fine. They do the job fine. What cameras have I used throughout my career? Smuckers, what cameras have I used throughout my career? Oh man, the list is long. I'll tell you what I'm using right now. I'm using a Sony A7 III, which is filming me right now, with a 24mm. Is that a 24mm? That's not my 35mm lens, f4. I have an Sony A7S III, which is my primary video camera, with a f2.8 16-35 and an f2.8 35-70. Those are my two standard lenses, and I have about 5 different microphones that I use, that I swap and change. I've used Canon, I've used Sony. Those are the two, and one Panasonic. But I'm with the Sony Alpha system at the moment, and extremely happy with it. I am not going to be building Abel. I'm not going to be building a Land Cruiser series. In a short answer, no plans to build a Land Cruiser. I built my Land Rover, my classic Land Rover. That's my Range Rover. It's fulfilled my classic Land Rover needs, and then some. What do you think about the opinion of a Subaru Outback? It's one of my favorite station wagons, actually. Subaru Outback. I think it's a really good car. But it's a car. I like it a lot. Brother's got one. Good car. Really good car. So nice to drive. I have watched Bush Tucker Man. 80 series 1HZ has 80,000 on it. Yeah, that 1HZ, you maintain that, you'll get 1 million k's out of that engine. Fantastic things. I will definitely be going to Tasmania. It's definitely, we had a trip planned to Tasmania, and then COVID scuppered that. We actually also had a trip planned to Queensland, ditto. Yeah, Sony action cameras. Yeah, I actually had a Sony action camera. I didn't love it. I found the image quality quite poor. Do you listen to music on your trips? I do. No Nikon. Surprising. Why? Nikon don't make video cameras. Nikon are not a video camera manufacturer. Some of their cameras can shoot video, but they're not a video camera manufacturer. So a lot of the technology in Canon cameras comes from their video camera department. So they shoot amazing videos, just beautiful videos, and really just fantastic. Likewise with Sony. To me, there are two manufacturers building outstanding. You cannot point fingers at one and say one's better than the other, and that is Canon and Sony. It's not Nikon. It's not actually, you could say it's Panasonic Lumix as well. They're doing some amazing cameras. Not full frame, mind you, but they're doing some amazing cameras. Anyway, that's where I'm at the moment. Would you consider trying out one of the cameras offered by the makers of DaVinci Resolve? No, I wouldn't. The DaVinci Resolve cameras are studio cameras. They're mostly designed for studio applications, not for what I kind of do. And they're not full frame. I like the full frame look, and so no, I wouldn't. I use DaVinci Resolve Blackmagic as my software, and it's a very good piece of software. Here in Namibia, we only have the 78 Troopy straight 6 available. Or should I rather opt for a V6 76 for a family of 4? Dihano Kloppers, here's your answer, 76. Troopy is no good for 4 people. It doesn't make a good 4 people Overlander. Although the 76 is cramped, there's not much space in the back. But honestly, a 2-door for 4 people, family of 4, troop carrier, I don't think it's great. Ford Everest for overlanding. Don't know it well enough. I guess it's all right. I don't know it well enough. It's quite good off-road, that little Everest. Okay, Patreon Mason has asked me, where can you buy the Egon water hub? You will be able to buy it from my store on 4xoverland.com/shop. You'll be able to find it there when it is available, and also at details on egon.com.au. and the door table. I don't know the door table. I don't have a door table solution for my car yet. Okay, Sarah asked me what was the rebranding. It's a very very good question, actually. Well, I think it's interesting. I changed it to be a filmmaker to ASPW because, you know what? I posted some what I consider seriously valuable teaching moments from my work on Be a Filmmaker, and nobody is interested, honestly. And those lessons come straight out of Be a Filmmaker, my film teaching, and I put 1 or 2 of them up, and I thought, this is good stuff. This is really valuable stuff, particularly for the newbie trying to tell stories with video. Like 800 views in 9 months. What's the point? So Gwen and I decided, Be a Filmmaker on the channel. I'm competing with so many film, video, camera channels, so many of them, that I haven't got a chance. Why don't we just turn it into our thoughts, the 2 of us, Gwen and I, what we do, some stuff. I'm going to be doing some more stuff about I was giving a guy some advice the other day. It was actually a Patreon who'd rolled his four-wheel drive, and he was obviously feeling quite devastated about it, and he was kind of he came to me for some advice. He said, he said, you appear to be a fairly robust individual. How do you handle this kind of stuff, and I felt for the guy, and I sent him a little, hopefully it helps, and he came back and said, wow, that's just so amazing, and kind of obviously really appreciated it. And so I thought, well, Gunnar and I have got a lot of experience, and we've managed to do what we've wanted to do. We've filled a lot of our life's ambitions and our dreams, and we have a fantastic relationship, not only with each other but with our kids as well. And I thought, well, we should share some of that, and maybe it'll help people. But it's a channel where we can share what we've experienced, and it'll maybe help people. We're not going to do it for money. We're not going to do it as a business project. We just enjoy sharing what we know and what we've learned. So we decided to just call it ASPW. Was it a result of the survey? Maybe a bit. Maybe. Not directly, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't attribute it necessarily to it, but it was probably part of it. Okay. If you had to pick a diesel Toyota engine, regardless of which vehicle, which was the best they ever did? It was the FDTE. It was the 4.2 multi-valve turbo diesel engine. I would have that in my troop carrier right now, in preference to the V8. For no particular reason other than that is and actually the HDT is also amazing. The 4.2 had 2 valves per cylinders, but it had the manual diesel pump, so it's really easy to work on. No electronics at all, but it had the turbocharge. So it was Toyota's turbocharged version of the 1HZ. Not the same engine. It had different heads, different manifolds, and it had different pistons. So it is quite a different engine. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up, guys, because it's now 2 hours. I'm actually enjoying myself. What do you think of the V8s will revert back to pre-COVID prices? They won't, Paul. I don't think they will. In-depth video install of the Egon water hub, farmer. It's coming. I promise you it's coming. Because now we've put one in, we've put the final version 2 in, we've installed it, and we're going to make some very small changes, but it's there. Now we're saying, okay, now we're ready to explain everything. So that'll be happening quite soon. What is the best suspension for the 76? I think a very good suspension for the 76 is the ARB with a BPF51. I think it's very good. I think the ride change is fantastic. I do think it's very, very good. I am not paid by ARB, but I do think it's a very good solution. Let's have a look here. Are you going to do a Gelanderwagenwelt in the future? I look to see what used G-Wagons are available in Australia and South Africa on a weekly basis. Will I review the 464? 464 apparently is only going to be available for military and NGO use, in which case I probably won't review it. Yeah. Okay. You should approach MultiChoice to do a series here on TV. They have some poor overlanding programs currently running and could do with some better stuff. Okay, Andre Smuts, let me explain to you about Multi. I've been there, done that, thank you, walked down that road with MultiChoice. MultiChoice charge to broadcast the show. So they'll say, yes, sir, we'll have your show. There's so many, we need 13 episodes and they've got to be 24 minutes long. We're going to sell advertising in and around your show and we're going to charge you. Then it was something like 18,000 Rand per episode that we have to, that's 1,800 give or take Australian dollars, and we had to give it to them so they would broadcast our shows. I'm sorry, it's just not a financial arrangement that I am even slightly interested in. There's another one called Wild Africa. Wild Africa wanted my show, and they had a whole lot of my shows. And Wild Africa came to... No, it was Wild Africa, that's right. No, and then there was Ignition TV. Ignition TV broadcast a couple of my shows. Then in about 2016-17, I said to them, okay, I can give you these shows, and they were broadcasting them for nothing. They weren't giving me a cent. And then I was about 16, I said to them, okay, I've got the series now. You're going to need to cover my music rights costs. Those are, apart from production costs, to enable the show to go onto a terrestrial television network, there are different music rights that were applicable. I would have to pay, and it was not much. Not much. It was pennies. And they said, no, we're not paying. You give it to us and pay 100% of the production costs, or we're not interested. And I said, well, in that case, I'm not interested. And that was my last TV broadcast in South Africa. You can't, yeah, it's multi-choice is just greed. Everything they do is about greed. It's about greed. It's a greedy organization, and no thanks. Watch it on YouTube, like everybody else. Okay. Is your new interior plywood because it's a prototype? Will you be shopping it for alloy version? No, we won't. It is a very lightweight marine plywood. It is lighter than the equivalent alloy. Not a lot lighter, but it is lighter. We know it's lighter. So going alloy version will not save weight. And wood and alloy, pros and cons. Cheers, Buck. Nice to have you on the show. He was with us for a couple of hours. I have never driven a ARB BP51 in a Jimny, but I think why not? Tell you, one of the best looking little four-wheel drives available right now is a Jimny with an ARB bull bar. Just brilliant. Just brilliant. Okay, lots more coming through. Let you guys chat a little bit as I wrap this up. Thank you for those people that contributed, and those people that that commented and helped me along. Without your questions, I'd have nothing to say. Okay, last question, guys. Last question. Actually, last time I was in America, fuel wasn't that cheap. Yeah, it's a bit cheaper, but it wasn't that cheap. The Sprinter is not available in four-wheel drive in Australia, JK. Would I have considered it? Maybe. It's really interesting. Actually, I would have considered it, because the principle of a van is marvelous for overlanding. Would I have considered a Sprinter? Definitely. Ford Bronco thoughts, TFL off-road, hopefully going to try and get me one towards the end of the year, so I'll be there. Thanks for your great content. Thank you, Wade. Appreciate it very much. Anything more from the budget build? Good question. We are doing another one. So as soon as we've got some things together, we're planning on another budget build, this time based on a... What on earth is going on here? Hold on. I'm trying to see if there are any more Patreons. And I've lost the feed. So we're planning a budget build. All right, let me see. Okay, a few more here. Okay. Thank you, Ofer. Thank you, Ryan. Can you recommend an interior fit-out designer fabricator? Well, the one I'm using in Perth is a team called ProCam Solutions in Western Australia. So, Mason, I'm not sure where you are, but those guys, they do good work, consistently good work. Inventive, nice guys to work with. All right. Okay, and what are your thoughts on the National Luna DC-DC charger versus the Red Arc? Okay, to be placed in a portable battery box. I don't know the National Luna DC-DC well enough to be able to make a comment on it. Okay, the Red Arc will work. Okay, to be placed in a portable battery box. Red Arc will work. Red Arc will allow you to input from engine and input from solar. Not high voltage solar, mind you, but solar, and or plug and play. Don't know the National Luna DC. It's not available in Australia. I doubt if it'll become available in Australia. There are so many outstanding products here. I'm not sure if there's there might be an opportunity, but I don't know enough about it to know, is it giving, I mean, I know the difference, and I'm going to be doing a video about DC-DC chargers, comparing the Victron and the Red Arc. They're both very good, but there are pros and cons to both of them. Delica, yeah, the Delica's actually got the underpinnings of the Pajero that I liked, not the later ones that I don't like. So the Delica actually has potential, but finding a really good one, difficult. I'll get back to you on my Patreon support. Okay, Boris, do that. Not seeing your comment. If you are making the comment, I'm seeing here, but I'm not seeing your. Okay. Greetings from Kuwait. Hello, Kuwait. Dual feed. Buck, if you want to do if you're still there and you want to do a joint thing, we can do a joint thing. I think I'm going to wrap this guys up. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and then last questions, please. Last questions, please. And while I wait for your questions, go into the channel shop and check out merch. Okay. Okay, I don't know enough about the hydraulic motion control in the Nissan Y62 Patrol. I do not know enough about it. Yeah. What do you think about the Tesla 4x4? I'll talk about it when I see it. Again, I said earlier about EVs, electrical vehicles for overlanding. It's not just about the range, it's mainly about the range. At the moment, it's range between fuel stations. With electric, it's range between where? What? Charging points. Where are they? So it's range between charging points, not just range. So EV, I would buy an electric Overlander tomorrow, if it was affordable, assuming, but if I could use it, given that its range is between charging points. Otherwise, see you, good night. Thank you very much, guys. Psychos, thank you. Phil's Camping and Touring, thank you very much. Water filtration systems video, please. Okay, not a bad idea. Okay, Suleiman ASK, you've asked this question 3 times about the Y62 Patrol. I do not know the answer. I don't see anybody responding to you, so I'm going to say thank you to everybody. Thank you everyone for your participation. And I'm going to Post that. Solar powered Tesla. Solar powered. Do you know how big the solar panels would have to be? I do. We've actually worked it out. It's never going to happen. Alright guys, I'll see you next time. Thanks. Ta-da.